Yo, what's up, Broncos country? This is Eddie with KOA Sports Connection. I'm joined tonight with Mohamed, of course, and Ryan Edwards. And tonight we got a lot to get through, man. We had the first preseason game tonight, a lot of, battles that happened, a lot of good stuff happened today. And the biggest question, how did Bo Nix do? So let's get into it. So, Ryan, I wanted to get your take on this. What were your thoughts on Bo Nix today?
I thought he looked really good. I thought he looked really confident. Oftentimes with rookie quarterbacks, it's one thing to be good in practice, and then it's another thing to get out there on the field. And when you have guys actually trying to tackle you, trying to hit you, and see how they did. The one thing that we've noticed about Bo Nix, and we've talked about it a lot on the afternoon show that I'm on, is that he doesn't have the wild roller coaster ups and downs like most rookies, right? With Drew Lock, with Paxton Lynch, we watched them. There were certainly some highs. I mean, you saw the arm talent, you saw what they could do when everything was clicking, but boy, the basement lows were brutal, absolutely brutal to watch. And there'd be days out of practice where you're just kind of like, oh man, if you have more of these, it's going to be really bad. And we'd see that in games. Bo Nix doesn't have that. Even on his quote unquote tough days out of practice, he's still competing out there. He still makes throws. And even today, it wasn't perfect, right? I mean, there were still some off target throws, but yeah, in the end, he made the right plays when he needed to. That 3rd down and 10 play that he had to Courtland Sutton, I mean, that was a thing of beauty, right? Keeping his eyes downfield, finding Sutton, putting it in a spot where he can get it. He's not going to get hit. He picked up 22 yards. The wheel route to Jaleel McLaughlin, kind of allowing the route to develop, letting Vele do his thing to kind of lead the defender away. I mean, those were some pro moves right there. And so again, you just see his steadiness. And that for me is just such a great baseline to start from for Bo Nix.
Mohamed, what were your thoughts?
Oh my God, I was happy to finally see Bo Nix live. I mean, you hear all these things about the training camp. I know Eddie actually went to a few of them, and you hear all these things, but it was actually really good to finally see him. I mean, his pocket presence, extending plays, very athletic. I mean, I heard that too, but like I just see him like running and like being like a dual threat quarterback. His arm strength, I was very impressed with that one too, especially on that touchdown. I mean, what's not to like? And I just keep thinking if Bo Nix continues with this trajectory, playing more with the starters, building that chemistry, like what's in the future? That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I was super excited, man. Like, there was, like Ryan said, that play where, he got Vele out and then McLaughlin was open down there on the sideline. The big play they had to Courtland Sutton. But personally, my favorite play, like it wasn't a catch, but it just showed me the experience and the maturity, and Bo Nix is ready for the NFL. It was like, I think like a minute left to go in the first half. And it was like the 3rd and 9. The Broncos were just trying to get points out of that drive. And I was like, all right, either throw it deep up to one of your receivers, see if they can, make a catch, or you can get a PI. And that's what Bo Nix did. He chucked it down the field to Vele and drew a PI, got us in field goal range. That's the kind of stuff I like to see. It was exciting. He moving over the pocket well. They had one design run for him today, which I think he picked up like, 10 to 15 yards, I think, on that. Got the first down. That was really exciting to see. And just watching him maneuver in the pocket and just him out there, being like, he's identifying the blitzer coming in, everything that rookie quarterbacks struggle with, Bo Nix did today. And to me, I'm sold. Like, I don't see how you don't name him the starter like right now. I mean, I can't understand it. Like you said, Ryan, before we went live, Sean, they want to see him in another game. But to me, I just feel like they're just taking valuable reps away from Bo Nix. Like, the problems in the bad passes I seen today from Nix was because of lack of timing, lack of chemistry. You give him those reps, I think by week 1, he's going to be completely fine. I mean, I'm not saying like if you wait another couple of days or wait another week to give him the starting job, he won't have that down by week 1. I just feel like why waste time, in my opinion. Because you still got a lot of other battles that you got to get through. But yeah, and the other one that really made me happy was whenever he took a shot into the end zone to Josh Reynolds, and it just went right through Reynolds' hands. I was like, Bo Nix had 2 touchdowns on the day, in my opinion, because that ball was perfectly placed right there. Like every receiver in the NFL should come down with that pass. And it just really bothered me. But not just talking about Bo Nix. I also want to get your take, Ryan, on how you think Jared Stidham and Zach Wilson both did today.
Yeah, I mean, I think both quarterbacks. I mean, they had some moments, right? I mean, Zach Wilson only had 3 incompletions, and I mean, the thing is, Jared got the 2 drives. Zach Wilson obviously got a lot more work. Zach Wilson also working against the 3rd and 4th team. We kind of predicted that going into the game. That Zach Wilson, who was the former 2nd overall pick, has about 35 starts under his belt, should beat up on the 3rd and 4th teams of any team. Really, I mean, he's too talented not to have a lot of success against those guys. But I thought he did a good job taking what was in front of him. The pass he had to the flat for Blake Watson late in the game was really nice play, especially for Blake Watson. But the most impressive thing for me was Zach Wilson was kind of just that last drive. I mean, you're talking about 6 minutes left in the game. How many games we watch for the Broncos where they give the ball back to the other team and they have a last-ditch effort to be able to score points and win the game. I mean, you think about the end of the first half, the end of the game, you have both executed perfectly for the offense. They kicked the field goal with 5 seconds left at the end of half. Then they ran out the clock, 6-minute drive, ran out the clock on the road. Those are impressive things. I mean, that's the kind of team that Sean's trying to build. I mean, yeah, you had some fumbles today, certainly some penalties you want to clean up, but there were a lot of execution things that they did do out there. There's stuff they've been practicing a ton out of training camp. You've been out there a few days. I've been out there every day. You see this stuff. They practice this stuff. They wanted to see it translate to the game, and it did. So those are definitely some encouraging signs.
Mohamed, what about you?
I mean, with Stidham, I mean, he did okay. I wasn't he didn't do anything impressive. You know how I feel about Stidham. I mean, he was boring as usual. Just Stidham is just Stidham. But I mean, Zach Wilson, as I expected him to play really well, especially him going against the 3rd and 4th stringers. I mean, I expected him to play really well, and I think he did. He did really fine. I mean, can't really tell he didn't really play against the 2nd or the starters or anything, but overall, I think Zach Wilson did pretty good.
Yeah, and I wanted to get into some stats here because I know a lot of people, on Twitter, on Facebook, all over the place, were like, well, yeah, Bo Nix had better numbers than Stidham because he played more. Well, I took a screenshot of the numbers after Jared Stidham's first only 2 drives and after Bo Nix's first 2 drives. And this is what it came up to be. Jared Stidham went 4 for 7, 37 yards, and no touchdowns and interception, which we talked about, which I don't believe – that wasn't on Stidham to me. That was on P. Ryan. He should have hauled that in. He literally juggled the ball and gave it to the Colts. And then Bo Nix on his 2 drives went 5 for 9, 44 yards and a touchdown, which the touchdown, of course, being the one where Marvin Mims came across and he hit him. And that's the other thing, man. A lot of people talked about Bo Nix not having the arm strength. I'm like, he's got the arm strength. It's not even a debate. That ball, the defender was right there and he just rocketed that thing in there. And it was a beautiful pass. I love seeing it. But at the end of the game, of course, like we said, Jared Stidham only played 2 drives. I think Bo Nix had 5, if I remember right. I think he had 5 drives today. And 4 out of the 5 drives,
At least 4,
he scored on.
Right.
He got points out of. And the one that he didn't was the one where he threw it to Lucas Kroll and he fumbled it. And,
That's right.
That wasn't on Bo Nix by any stretch of the imagination. But these were Bo Nix's numbers, and I'm going to go with Zach Wilson here too, just to throw it out since Stidham only played 2 drives. Bo Nix went 15 for 21, 125 yards, and 1 touchdown. Zach Wilson went, I think, 10 for 13, 117 yards, no touchdowns. And like you guys said, he played against the 3rd stringers today, but today was so much fun to watch. Bo Nix really looked like an NFL QB out there to me. Stidham, yes, he's the safe guy. he's Mr. Reliable. Like, he reminds me of Teddy Bridgewater, honestly. Just take the check down, take the safe play, don't put the ball in danger, and just, hopefully nothing bad happens. You get points out of the drive.
Boring.
But with that said, Ryan, what some other positions did you see today, other players you saw today that you were impressed with?
I thought the linebackers looked good, including the edge rushers. I thought Jonah Ellis looked really, really good out there. It's nice to see him out there, and the guy that they have high expectations for, and not just beyond year one, which is usually the case for day two players, but they think he's going to contribute right away. So Jonah Ellis looked good out there. Alex Singleton, I thought the run defense in general, Malcolm Roach, those guys looked really good. I mean, you held a team to 2.8 yards per carry. And you think like they're mixing in 5 different quarterbacks out there. They're going to run the ball, and you did a pretty decent job stopping it. I mean, you certainly limited them. I thought that I want to go back and watch. I thought both cornerbacks, Riley Moss and Damari Mathis, had some nice moments. So I have to go back and watch. I think Riley Moss is probably the guy that's in the lead in that competition for CB2. But Damari Mathis almost had a pick on the very first drive. Got really close to it. He's got a lot of athleticism, and then they're going to need all these guys. They're going to need all of them. Whether there's a guy ceremonially the starting cornerback opposite Pat Surtain, doesn't really matter. There's going to be some rotation there, so they all need to be able to play. But yeah, I thought some guys on the defensive side looked good. Offensive line, a little bit of a mixed bag. You had some holding calls, you had some false starts. I definitely want to go back and check them out. Certainly the running backs, a lot to like about what the running backs did today. Holy cow. I mean, the youth, Audric Estime, Blake Watson, both guys, even though they put it on the ground, something they need to work on, that shows some signs of what you think the room will eventually look like, along with Jaleel McLaughlin, who, once again, just looks tremendous out there. So there's quite a few things to like besides just the quarterbacks. But, yeah, I mean, right now, yeah, I mean, you just thought the overall execution for the team was pretty good.
Mohamed, what were your thoughts?
Pretty much the same. With the running backs, I was kind of happy to see Javonte Williams actually back and running and stuff. I was kind of worried from towards the end of the last season and stuff. It was nice to see him. I thought Jaleel did pretty well. I've seen him running, being all impressive all over the field. Tim Patrick, I didn't like that taunting call. I was happy to see him actually healthy. Finally, hopefully he stays healthy. Moss, I mean, with the defense, Moss almost had an interception. Mathis too. They look pretty decent. I would say same thing with the D line. You could tell it's different. It's not like last year. You could tell there's some kind of change there. So the D line looked pretty well. So yeah, and then the wide receivers, everybody did pretty well. I would say. Go ahead, Eddie.
Yeah, the defense was the most fun for me to watch today. I mean, outside of of course Bo Nix, but Jonah Ellis, he had the interception that the Broncos got, the one they did get, that was caused by Jonah Ellis. Like, he gets back into the backfield, he gets his hand on the quarterback, makes the quarterback make a bad throw, and of course it gets picked off. Then I believe he also had a sack today, if I remember correctly.
Let's take a look. Yeah, but it was, if he didn't, it was close. Yeah.
Well, they credited him with the sack on the stat sheet.
Cool. Nice.
So he got a sack today, and I agree with Riley Moss. He looked good out there with the ones. Damari Mathis, like you guys said, almost had the pick on the first play. But the other cornerback that really surprised me today was Abrams Drain. Like, he had a lot of pass breakups. Now, I understand he was playing with the 2s, he was playing with the 3s, but when you're a rookie, especially a late round pick like he was, what was he, a 4th or a 5th? I think he was. Fourth or 5th. He had a couple of decent plays today, and I was actually really excited to see that. And speaking to on your point, Ryan, the run stopping defense. Holy crap, is that what it looks like?
Yep.
I was excited. Like, Malcolm Roach was getting back there all the freaking time. Like, he was constantly in the backfield, blowing up run plays. I'm like, yes, that's what we need, because we know our secondary is one of the best in the league. I mean, maybe it took a step back this year with losing Justin Simmons, but, I still think the secondary is going to be the strength of the defense. But if you can stop the run, I still don't believe teams are going to be able to pass on us. I really don't. You still got the best corner in the league. You still got one of the best nickel corners in McMillan. I mean, you got a solid safety in Brandon Jones. You got PJ Locke. And if these young guys like Riley Moss, Damari Mathis, and Abrams Drain can, get that cornerback 2 position, I'm not worried about the secondary. But the fact that they were able to stop the run today really, really made me happy, because now teams ain't just going to constantly run down our throat for like 100 yards a game this year, I feel like. And to me, that's exciting to see. Receivers, Cortland Sutton had a good game. Tim Patrick, honestly, I didn't care about the taunting penalty. It's preseason. I mean, if it was a regular season, I'd be a little upset, but he's excited. He's been out for 2 years. He gets his first catch. He gets a first down. He's all pumped up and juiced and excited. So he gets the taunting penalty, whatever. Vele, this kid's making the roster, in my opinion. Like, I don't see him not making the roster. The kid is good. I know he's an older receiver. He's 26, but it don't matter. He's got height. The guy can catch. He's good. I have no problem with him making the roster. Little Jordan Humphrey, didn't really see much from him today. I think he had one pass thrown at him that was dropped by, I think it was Jared Stidham threw him a pass, or Bo Nix, one of those two did, and he dropped it. Troy Franklin, didn't really see a whole lot of him today. Kind of wanted to, but really didn't. I think Zach Wilson threw him a ball and he didn't catch it. And of course, Josh Reynolds, like I said, he had that one pass that was delivered to him that should have been a freaking catch. Like, that just drove me nuts. I was like, come on, man. You give me, bad memories of like Jerry Jeudy out there can't catch him passes, But with that said, the other thing I wanted to ask you about, Ryan, was the center position. Like, I noticed today that, of course, Luke Wattenberg got starting with the ones. I think Forsyth was with the twos, and then they kicked him out to guard at one point, I saw. And then Mustaford, the guy they brought in this year, was running with the threes all day. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think Wattenberg has probably got the inside track to the job at this point. He's had the predominantly been working with the ones, and they've been cycling in Forsyth and Mustapher for like one day each during the course of a week, but it's been Luke Wattenberg for every other day. So I sort of feeling that the only reason they're doing that is just to see what their depth looks like, that they've already kind of made their decision. And that's interesting that they've sort of tipped it that way. I would have thought coming into this thing that Forsyth, with his experience at Oregon, or Mustapher, because he's got NFL experience, would be the guys. Wattenberg doesn't have starting center experience at the NFL level. He's only been a guard for the Broncos. So I'm a little surprised the way this has worked out, but as long as they feel confident that he's the guy and that he can hold up and he can help the communication there, then we're good. It's just one of those deals where of the early camp storylines, him winning the job as early as he has been a bit of an eye opener for me. But like I said, they believe in the coaching staff, believes in him. So here we go.
Mohamed, what are your thoughts?
Same. I mean, Wattenberg, I didn't think, like coming into the training camp, I thought it'd be Forsyth because of experience, Oregon working with Bonix and stuff. I thought for sure he's got the advantage, but this kid is playing pretty well. And like he said, the coaching staff like him, and hey, we just need to trust the process, and I guess Forsyth is playing some guard, so maybe he's good. He's better at that position. So, but yeah, I think it's going to be Wattenberg.
So next thing I wanted to ask you guys about was pretty much, you kind of touched on a little bit, Ryan, the penalties and the turnovers. Like, I believe that's something that the Broncos can clean up through the rest of camp or practice and the next couple of preseason games. But, I think Audric Estime had a fumble today that was picked up for a, touchdown, which really sucked. I didn't want to see that. There was a couple others. Like I said, Stidham had the INT, I guess you say, that was mostly on P. Ryan. And we also had a fumble or a botch snap between the center and Bo Nix, which we did recover. And the penalties, like you had McGlinchey that false started. Then you had Garrett Bowles had a hold. And I think there was another one on defense. Like you said, there was one on defense, I remember, that I think it was like a holding penalty on the DB or something. Are you worried, Ryan, about, the turnovers and the penalties, or you think they'll get cleaned up through preseason?
Yeah, I think it's going to get cleaned up. It's interesting here listening to Sean Payton in the post post-game press conference, he was talking a little bit about how he actually had kind of alerted the coaches to the fact that he was a little worried about this game being a high turnover kind of game. And so apparently they feel like they didn't do enough work during training camp on ball security. And sure enough, that was the case. Lucas Kroll had a fumble, as you mentioned. You had both Blake Watson and Audric Estime put it on the ground. They got the ball back with Blake, but both guys had a botched snap. So there was certainly things. But, I mean, you think about it in terms of, you almost don't want to come out of preseason games with everything working. So you definitely come out of it saying, okay, well, there's definitely some things to clean up. There's some reason for optimism. I think some reason for confidence, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But then, you can go to as the coaching staff, you can go to these guys and say, hey, good job. We scored 34 points. We have a lot more work to do. And especially as we get ready for this week where we have the joint practice with the Green Bay Packers and we have the second preseason game, which in a lot of ways might be a bit of the dress rehearsal game. The final game might be more of we're playing out the guys that are just competing for final roster spots or roster spots from around the league. So, yeah, the way I kind of look at this is you look at the turnovers, you look at the penalties, and you say, guys, we can clean these things up. They're mental errors. We're certainly better than this, and we know if we want to succeed this year, we want to reach our goals, it's going to start with taking care of the ball. They preach that all the time. The quarterbacks did a pretty good job with it, at least, not throwing interceptions besides the bobbled interception. And I think that they can build on that.
Mohamed, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not really worried about it. If it continues now to like second, third preseason, I might, but I'm just gonna say it's week 1 preseason, first preseason game. Hopefully they can work on that. I'm pretty sure Sean is gonna get with the whole ball security thing because that's a little concerning if it continues. But yeah, I'm not really worried about it. I think by week 1 we should be fine.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it'll get cleaned up during preseason. Like, I'm not worried about it at all. The penalties, like, I think that was mostly just rust, coming back, first game, first preseason game. They're just, I think, and plus, I think they're just trying to get used to the quarterbacks back there, too. Like going through quarterbacks like that, it usually causes problems like that. But once they have their starter, I think that'll get cleaned up. The fumbles, yeah, Sean Payton's definitely going to work on that because after Russ, throwing interceptions and fumbling the ball away last year, Sean Payton ain't going to tolerate that. But one more thing I wanted to ask you, Ryan, before we get out of here. I wanted to get your opinion. Who's your surprise cut for the Broncos whenever they shave the roster down to 53?
Surprise cut. Well, I mean, we've talked about Samaje P. Ryan, and I think that's what a lot of people are thinking. Not just because of today. It's just more about the numbers. It's more about the running back room. It's more about his salary cap hit. I mean, even if you had a good day today, I think we'd be saying, okay, well, that's good, but the rest of the guys looked really good out there too, and they're young and they're cost controlled, and there's a multitude of reasons that Samaj should be the guy. So I don't know if he's a surprise at this point. Tim Patrick might be surprise cut, and it's not to say that it's what I want. Certainly, he's an easy guy to root for. Brings a lot to the locker room. The guys respect him, but you think about the wide receiver room and. I mean, you can't sneak Troy Franklin on the practice squad, despite the fact that he hasn't really had a big training camp or maybe not even had a preseason. You're not going to be able to release and bring him back to the practice squad. He'll get claimed. You mentioned it, Vele. You can't ignore his production. He's been really, really good. Even today, I mean, you're talking about the 2 DPIs that he drew, plus that play that freed up McLaughlin on the wheel. He makes plays that are even outside the box score. So, there's just a lot of depth of guys that you may not want to let go. So if you're going to get to a surprise guy, I think to Patrick's close because he's on a vet min deal.
Mohamed, you?
Yes, I think it's P. Ryan, but now Ryan got me worried about Tim Patrick. That is going to hurt, but you can't keep them all. I mean, it's a good problem to have, even with the running backs and the wide receivers. I mean, we have all this depth, but we can't keep them all. So I think it's P. Ryan. It's gonna be fun.
Well, my thing, everybody knows who mine is. I think it's going to be Stidham. If Zach Wilson keeps playing the way he's playing, I think he will be the backup and Stidham will be the one cut. And I know that a lot of people are probably going to actually be surprised by that, but that's just the way I feel about it. But Ryan, thanks for coming on tonight, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks.
You're
Talk
welcome.
to you later.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right. So that was awesome. Anyway, let's get back into it. So, Mohammed, a couple more other things I want to talk to you about. With everything that happened today, uh, we talked about the surprise cut. We talked about Bo Nix, all that stuff. Um, what are you looking forward to seeing in these next two preseason games outside of Bo Nix? Clearly showing he's the number one. What's some other battles, other positions, other players you're looking forward to seeing in training or in preseason?
I would say probably cornerback. That second spot, it's not really clear. I know we have some favorites per se, but I would love to see who could actually be that second cornerback because that's really important. Because as we talked about before, nobody's going to be throwing, nobody's going to be throwing to that our first, cornerback. He's not going to be. They're not going to be targeting him, right? So that's going to be where they're going to look at. So we got to make sure that that's secured, right?
Yeah.
Um, the linebacker position, I thought Singleton did pretty well. Would love to see who's gonna be like, who's gonna be behind him, like who's gonna even like maybe beat him out on that position. That's another position I'll be looking at. Um, with the wide receivers, they're good. Like they're all pretty much good. Like, but I would say cornerback, inside linebacker.
The big positions I'm looking forward to, I mean, receiver, yeah, that's one of the big ones, but I'm still looking forward to the running back. And honestly, I'm looking forward to, honestly, the defensive line. Like, there's a lot of studs out there, a lot of good players. You got, like I said, DJ Jones, Zach Allen. You got John Franklin Myers. You got, like we talked about him a little bit today, Malcolm Roach. You got Henningsen. You got Wazirike coming back. Um, and Elijah Garcia was out there. He actually was playing pretty good. I mean, I don't think he had a bunch of big plays, but he was solid out there. And he was actually a standout last year in preseason, Elijah Garcia. So that's the position. Like now that, like I said, me personally, I'm going to watch Bo Nix next week, of course. Like I want to watch him go out there and ball, whatever. But the big position next week I'm going to have my eye on is the defensive line. Like I am so excited to watch those guys because it's not just Malcolm Roach. Like you can't have Malcolm Roach in there every play to help, stop the run whenever they're running. You need to have a good, rotation of guys that can go out there and play and give him, a break. So I'm looking forward to see what Henningsen can do, what Awazarike can do, even Elisha Garcia. Like I'm so excited to see what all these guys can do. And really step up in the pass rushing group too. That's another one. Like, who are they going to keep there? You got Nick Benito, you got Baron Browning, you got Jonathan Cooper, Elijah or Jonah Ellis. Man, he was looking good. Even Incum today was looking good out there. Um, so it was exciting to see. But the other thing I wanted to touch on with you, Mohammed, was you know, pretty much going through the preseason and everything that's been going on. Like, I'm just excited for the Broncos offense this year, like a lot. Like, granted, yes, it's only preseason, but they scored the Broncos today scored more points than any other team in the preseason. Now, I understand that, it's preseason, every team's running a vanilla offense. They're not really going to show you what they're going to do, but I think like that saying is a little, old school now because I think some of the coaches kind of run some of the stuff that they're going to do during the regular season. It seems like I seen the Chiefs do it yesterday whenever I was watching them and the Jags. I seen Sean Payton do it today. Like we scored the most points in preseason day. Once again, it's just preseason, but it just feels like the team is just this offense feels like it's going to be so much better than last year. What are your thoughts on that? Being the team that scored the most points, do you think the Broncos will score more than 20 points a game this year?
Absolutely. I mean, Eddie, like when you look at everything, this team is different. Like the offense is different. Sean Payton, the way he speaks about everybody, it's just different. The culture, everything is changing. I'm very impressed. And what's so impressive about it is just thinking about, I mean, it hasn't even, like, it's not all together yet. Like, once everything comes together, once Bonix gets all this, gets the starts with the with the first stringers, with the starters. He started building that chemistry with the wide receivers, the tight ends, the running backs, that line. Just sky is the limit, Eddie. I'm trying to, I don't want to go get over myself, but it's very exciting, And like I said, man, I just hope that this whole thing with who's going to be the starting quarterback gets settled soon, because Bo Nix needs to get, that chemistry. He needs to be playing with the starters, soon. The sooner the better, because like you were saying earlier, the only mistakes that you actually seen or drop balls is because of that, the chemistry, the timing, and that takes time. How is he supposed to be built that? He needs to play more with the starters. That's all.
Yeah, and touching on Bo Nix again, we're probably gonna be leaping around here for like the next 30 minutes, because there's so much to get to, and I'm trying to remember everything. But also the other thing I like about Bo Nix that shows me he's the leader and he's the clear-cut starter is like, okay, I heard someone say this earlier that whenever a rookie throws a pass to like a receiver, a tight end, a running back, whoever, if that receiver, tight end, running back makes a bad play, like Lucas Kroll did today, for instance, Bo Nix hit him. He was wide open and he gets hit and he fumbles the ball. And the Broncos get the ball right back, of course. What Bo Nix do? He goes right back to Kroll. He's like, I still trust you. I'm going to go back to you. That's something a veteran leadership quarterback does. Like, you don't go away from that. Just like if you're just like Bo Nix in training camp, when he had the one INT, what'd he do? He's like, oh, I just treat it like a touchdown and move on to the next play. That's what you have to do in this game. You can't dwell on that. And this goes for Lucas Kroll too. Like, he could have put his head down and just been like, out there being a slouch. What'd he do? He gets back out there. Bo Nix hits him 2 times back to back right after that. Boom, 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 for like a 20-yard and 10-yard gain. So not just for Bo Nix, but for Lucas Kroll, to me, like, he's showing how much, mature he is and how experienced he is. Like, he's like, I'm not gonna let that fumble bother me. I'm gonna go back out here and try to make a play and make up for what I just did. I'm not gonna dwell on it. Bo Nix, same thing. What were your thoughts on that play? Because to me, Bo Nix, he's got the leadership aspect locked in.
I agree 100%, Eddie. And I was really impressed when he went back to Kroll after that play. I think he went to him like 2-3 times, something like that.
Yeah,
he kept throwing him the ball. But I mean, you could tell that Bo Nix is just so comfortable. He's got that confidence. It's not like if it was like it phased him or anything. Didn't even look like a rookie to me at all. Pocket awareness, the way he stood, the way he was just looking at the defense, reading the safeties. All these things that he was doing. And like I said, it was things that I was hearing. I didn't really get to see it, but now you get to see it, and what is everybody's talking about, So yeah, very impressed.
The next thing I wanted to ask you, Mohamed, I'm going to kind of touch on it myself, was the fact that I remember seeing on the broadcast and listening on the broadcast that they were talking about it, that Bo Nix, whenever he was in there, he was manipulating the safeties with his eyes. Another veteran, quarterback trait that most rookies don't have. Like, they'll stare down a receiver, and then the safeties and DBs are like, oh, we know where you're going with the ball. You're staring down, say, Cortland Sutton. We're going to go over there and guard him because we know that's where you're going to go with the ball. Russell Wilson had that problem last year. He would stare down the freaking receivers, and the DBs would always be over there to make a play.
Yeah.
Bo Nix, like, I went back and watched the replays of it. I think it was the pass that he threw to Josh Reynolds, the one that Josh Reynolds should have came down with. He was on the right. Bo Nix hikes the ball. He's looking to the left, gets the safety to bite over there, and then boom, throws it over to Josh Reynolds. Veteran quarterback moves. What were your thoughts on that? Like, to me, that's just mind-boggling that he hasn't been named the starter yet.
Very impressive, Eddie. I mean, like, everybody that can saw this, like the plays that he made, know that this is going to be the starter week 1. Like, what are we doing here? But I don't think Sean Payton is going to do it anytime soon. He's going to just wait. I can't wait to see Bo Nix again next week. That second preseason game. He's very comfortable. He's doing everything that he's supposed to be doing. Just imagine giving him more time. But yeah, I mean, Eddie, like we got our guy. He's a franchise quarterback. It's something to be excited about. I mean, people might say, hey, we should get hold of ourselves and take it easy and stuff. But no, we got our quarterback. We know what they're supposed to look like, and he does look like a franchise quarterback, is what it is.
Yeah, like I said, like you knew what I said before the preseason, Mohamed. Like I said, Bo Nix, them drafting him at 12, he's automatically a starter. Unless he loses it, it's his job to lose. And Jared Stidham's going to have to play otherworldly in order to win that job. And throughout camp, my stance on that just increased more and more and more. I'm just like, yeah, Stidham's being okay in training camp, but Bo Nix is showing, like leadership traits. He's showing veteran traits as a quarterback. He just needs to improve and get better. And today we saw that in full force in this game, looking off safeties, IDing the blitzing linebacker, the blitzing DB, changing protections, taking the shot down the field with like 30 seconds left just to get in field goal range, see if he can get the guy to catch the ball or get a DPI. And he did that. He throws it, he has a couple bad plays, he rebounds. He has one bad play to Kroll where Kroll, or not really a bad play for him, but bad play for Kroll, like we just talked about. He fumbles, and what's he do? Just like a leader, he just goes back to Kroll, like, you know what, I still believe in you. It's not that, none of that. He's like, I believe you, I'm gonna still throw you the ball. Like all these aspects, all these things that he's doing, like, how could you not, like, he's your future. You have to start him. Like at this point, I think it would be almost criminal not to start Bo Nix week 1. Like to me, there is no, and I repeat, no, benefit in starting Jared Stidham for the season. None.
No.
Bo Nix, like the only way he's going to develop and get better, and Peyton Manning said it best, is like let him go out there as a rookie and let him play. He's going to make some rookie mistakes. That's going to happen. He's still a rookie. He's going to make mistakes. Every quarterback makes mistakes. Peyton Manning made mistakes. Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, they all make mistakes. Let him go out there and learn. And that's something that Peyton Manning said that I completely agree with. Like, I mean, he's completely raw, like, a freaking Drake May, who I don't think is going to be starting anytime this season, honestly. I think he'd be sitting the whole year because he's that raw. Okay, I can understand that. But Bo Nix has showed you and demonstrated throughout training camp and this first preseason game, he's got it. He's NFL ready. If anything, I think he's more like, I even watched Caleb Williams the other night, which he's athletic, he's good, but I didn't see nearly as much as a leadership, veteran kind of a QB out of Caleb Williams that I saw out of Bo Nix today. What are your thoughts? You think the Broncos should start Bo Nix week 1?
Absolutely. There's no reason why not to start him. I mean, the question I keep asking myself, Eddie, was like, does Sean Payton know who the starter is going to be? I think the answer is yes. Why is he waiting? I think he wanted just to see Bo Nix live. He wanted him to see him playing like against another team, right? And that happened. So now, what's next? Is he going to name him the starter right away? No, I think he's going to wait. Maybe, the second preseason game. I don't want him to wait because I want Bo Nix to start playing with the starters, That's the goal. That's what we keep preaching. I hope it happens, but yeah, there's no reason why. At this point, Eddie, I would be shocked if Stidham is the starter week 1. I will be. Like, I would just think there's something wrong with Sean Payton for doing that.
Good take. Well, the next thing I wanted to ask you about, Mohamed, because I kind of seen it, through all the first couple of preseason games with other teams. I seen it, last week in the Hall of Fame game. And today I see, we saw it again, the new kickoff rule, where they got the landing zone, I guess they call it. And they got, all the players from the, receiving and kicking team all right down there by each other. There was one play today I saw from either team, the Colts or the Broncos, where the ball, the kickoff returner went back past the 50-yard line, and it was Jalen Virgil of the Broncos. He got, over to the sideline on the right side and got past the 50-yard line. What are your thoughts on the new kickoff rule?
It is so weird. Eddie. I'm trying to comprehend what they're doing, but it's just so weird and seems a little complicated to me. Like I don't really see the point of it. You know, it did look weird when they were doing it, but
Well, the point of it is to reduce injuries, they say, and to make sure there's always a return.
mhm.
And honestly, watching all the preseason games over the weekend, like there's a lot more returns. Like the old kickoff rule, like it was constantly kneeled in the freaking end zone. They would catch it, they kneel it in the end zone, or it would go out the back of the end zone, and you'd always start at the 25-yard line. But I like watching special teams, like field goals, punts, kickoffs, whatever. Like I like watching them. And this, I think it's a fun rule because now it's, like, hey, you have to bring the ball out. You have to run the ball. There has to be a play here. And the fact that, it's always a return. Like it's always like, I mean, every now and then a guy will kneel on it in the end zone. And a clear cut example of this, and I saw this last night, and it was freaking hilarious to me because it happened against the Chiefs, is that the Jaguars kicked the ball off to the Chiefs, and it hit outside, I think it hit in the end zone, then came out of the end zone. Nicole Hardman went to the end zone, grabbed the ball, and took a knee in the end zone. So it was a safety.
Yeah.
So players and coaches alike, they're still trying to learn this kickoff rule. But that, to me, that was just a funny story from watching last night. I was like, wow, that was retarded. But
especially who it happened to, right?
Exactly. It made me happy. But
Mhm.
the new kickoff rule, I like it for the simple fact that, it's always guaranteed a return. We're always going to have a good play on, there. And like the announcers were saying earlier, like once you get past that initial line of blockers, it's over. Like if you can get past that initial line of blockers, where they all collaborate at, it's pretty much going to be a touchdown. Now, this might be a detriment at some point once teams really start implementing what they're going to do and how they're going to run it. And, they start getting used to it. This might be a detriment because then you're going to be seeing a lot more kickoff returns, return for touchdowns, and not so much offense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen. I feel like it's going to, but if it does, like they're going to have to change something because people are not going to want to go to games just to consistently watch special teams score touchdowns and not see their offense and their quarterback who they came there to see.
Yeah.
But I like it so far. Like I said, it's guaranteed a return every time, and like I said, like teams are just getting used to it now. Over time, once teams start getting used to it and understanding it and, doing it consistently, like I said, it could be a detriment. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see on that. But some other things I wanted to touch on were the safeties. Like we saw PJ Locke out there today. We saw Skinner out there. PJ Locke looked good. He came up and made a few stops up there, I believe, in the run game. And I also wanted to ask you about that. I mean, we kind of talked about it already, but man, what are your thoughts on the Broncos run defense, man? Because if the run defense for the Broncos can stop the run this year, teams ain't going to be able to pass on us because our secondary is really good. What are your thoughts?
Eddie, I'm very excited. Remember, I made that prediction. It's going to be a top 5 defense. But I'm not really surprised. All the changes they made to the line made me think that this is what's going to be the result. I mean, and you can actually see it, But yeah, I mean, like I said, man, team's going to try thinking like we're like the same team as last year. And I'm like, yeah, go ahead, try to run the ball. They're not going to be able to run the ball. We're going to just dare them to throw the ball. And what's going to happen? Interceptions. That's what I'm hoping for. We got some ball hawks on our defense too. So yeah, I mean, defense is going to be way better than last year, especially stopping the run. We had an issue with that for a while, but this is going to change, and teams will take notice. Yes, they will.
Yeah, I agree. Like I'm excited, man. Like if we can just stop the run, and we've seen it over the last like 2-3 years, man. No one ever throws Surtain's way. Never. They're terrified of him. Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, freaking Joe Burrow. Like these teams are terrified to throw Patrick Surtain's way, and rightfully so. Like he's a really good corner. And I'm just excited. Like, I'm with you, Mohamed. Like, these teams are going to think, oh, this is the same Broncos team from last year. And they're going to try to run, and we're just going to just shove that freaking line right down their throat and keep them from getting anywhere. And that's going to be fun to see. And then, to me, it's more fun to watch the Broncos pass defense because I know what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
And when teams stop running, they have to actually start throwing, and I think this defense, and that comes into our next subject. This defense, I think, this Vance Joseph defense this year, I heard a lot of people talk about it. They're going to be playing a lot more man coverage this year, and they're going to be playing a lot more aggressive this entire year. Like blitzes, just constantly getting at, punching at the ball, getting it out, getting turnovers. What are your thoughts on that? Because I'm pumped for that.
Oh, there's going to be plenty of interceptions. But before that, Eddie, like going back to that point about the cornerbacks, we know we have Patrick. I know we have Surtain, right? But next year or next season, we're going to have all that money in free agency. Imagine if we go and sign a really good cornerback to play against. Do you know what I'm talking about? You understand what I'm saying? Just imagine. What are they going to do? Like, what? You can't run the ball. You can't, right?
I got a corner in mind too.
Are you going to tell me or?
I will say, okay, we all know if the Jets don't win this year, most likely Aaron Rodgers is going to retire.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
And Robert Saleh is probably going to be fired, and the Jets are probably going to strip it down and rebuild.
Yes.
If that happens and the Jets are going to be doing a rebuild, I'd say call up the Jets and see what it would take to get Sauce Gardner over here.
Yes, and yes.
Get Sauce Gardner in Denver alongside Patrick Surtain. This defense will be so freaking lethal that Patrick Mahomes is going to be like, I'm going to call out sick today.
Eddie, give them whatever they want. Just give them what they want. Oh, my God. Can you imagine? What are they going to do?
Expensive. Yeah, I understand it's expensive.
We're going to be rich
will have the cash.
Bro.
And if they can get Sauce Gardner over here, I mean, they're going to have to pay Surtain and Sauce Gardner. I mean, that's going to be paying a lot of money for two corners, but, they're the top two corners in the NFL. You can restructure contracts and do whatever you need to do. Have them on the team for, like you could sign, Patrick Surtain to like a 5-year deal, maybe Sauce Gardner to like a 2-3-year deal, whatever. Bring him in for a couple years and see what that defense could do. But man, could you imagine that? Teams are never, if they can't run on us, and then you got the two best corners in the league, no one's going to pass on us. Nobody. They're going to have to run. And that's the thing I'm excited about, man. Not like we kind of did our predictions earlier in the off season. I got the Broncos sitting at 10-7 this year. Going 10-7 with the way the schedule is, who they're playing. I got the Broncos going 10-7, and with the way I had the whole NFL schedule and the games I picked, I got the Broncos making a wild card at the 6th seed. Now they can still go 10-7 and not make the playoffs. It just depends on what the other teams do, whatever. But depending on how this team looks next week, like they look good today. I'm not going to lie. The defense looked good. I mean, the starting defense, like once you got to the 3rd and 4th stringers, they started looking a little rough. But even the 3rd and 14 offenses look good. They were still scoring points. I can't remember how many points they scored off the top of my head because I know Bo Nix, I think Jared Sims scored no points. Bo Nix scored, I think, like 20-something points, and then Zach Wilson scored and the 3rd string and 4th string offense scored the other 10 or whatever points. But my thing is if this team continues to play and develop the way they are, and Bo Nix, goes out next week and he has another not really a phenomenal game. He didn't really have a phenomenal game. He had a good game today. But if he has another good to great to phenomenal game next week, and of course he'll become the starter. I don't think the starters will play in preseason, the 3rd preseason game. I could maybe see in this Broncos team eke out another win, maybe going 11-6 this year. If they keep going the way they're going in training camp, preseason, by the regular season, if they keep growing and getting better like they have been, I could maybe see the Broncos squeezing out another win going 11-6. What are your thoughts, Mohamed?
Eddie, I don't think that's crazy. I don't think what you're saying is crazy. I mean, you look at everything. You look at the defense. We already know the defense is going to be decent. You look at the offense; it's all coming together, especially with Bo Nix learning everything and getting that chemistry down. I mean, it's not impossible. I don't. Like I said, I don't think it's crazy. 10, 11 wins. Yeah, and like I said before, like I predicted before, Eddie, if we do make the playoffs, teams are not going to want to play us because of the defense and because of how we're going to be able to run the ball with Estime and Williams and McLaughlin. Yeah, that's going to be a team that they do not want to play when it's cold, playoffs times. Especially if they come to Denver, no, they want nothing to do with us.
Yeah, rough, like especially like I said, this defense keeps improving and they keep playing like they were today, and they keep and training camp and they keep developing. And if Vance Joseph still has that aggressive mindset all year, like I believe you, no team is going to want to come into Denver and play us in the cold. Like if we're that aggressive and we're that freaking, like much of a bully, I guess you could say in other terms, just bullying them, not letting them do anything, just playing really freaking hard. No team's going to want to come in here and play. And then also, no team's going to want to come in here and tackle Estime and Javonte Williams in the cold weather. No one's going to want to do that.
Estime, I saw him today, like, because you seen him live, right? When he came, I was like, good God, this guy is jacked. Like, he looked like this.
He was running people over today, too. Like, there was a couple of plays I watched him. He ran over people. I think it was the final touchdown that he got with the third stringers, man. Like, yes, I understand they're third stringers, but you know what? Every snap, every rep matters, in my opinion. Whenever he got into the end zone, he bullied his way in there. He just trucked people. Like they I believe that was like McLaughlin, or dare I say, I'm not trying to hate on a Broncos favorite, but even Philip Lindsay, who was small, like if that was them in that situation and the offensive line got stood up, the defense was there, they would have went down. Not Estime, man. He's like, nope, I ain't going down. I'm going into the end zone. There ain't a damn thing you can do about it. Like, he needs to clean up his, fumbling. Like, I believe that same play, that touchdown, like they said he possibly could have fumbled on that, or it looked like he did fumble. And then the one, of course, we know for this touchdown that went back for a touchdown that he fumbled. But I think Sean Payton can clean that up. And if he does, no one's going to want to tackle Javonte and Estime and, November, December weather here in Denver when it's like 20 degrees outside. No one's going to want to tackle them.
And they're going to use them on the red zone.
Oh, yeah, especially if Bo Nix. Especially if Bo Nix is, even that late in the season, Bo Nix clearly, he's going to be the number one, of course, and he's got all that game experience under his belt. It takes the pressure off any quarterback. It doesn't matter if it's Bo Nix, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Peyton freaking Manning. It don't matter. If you could take the pressure off your quarterback because you got two beast running backs that can just bulldoze over everyone in the cold in Denver in November and January when it's 20 degrees in December, like, you do it. Take the pressure off your quarterback and make that defense try to stop your bowling ball running backs because they're not going to be able to do it. They're going to be tired. They're going to be cold. And they're going to be like, we're wore out. We're done.
Eddie, that's the whole point, is to make the other team's defense tired. And how do you do that? You run the ball down the throat. You just keep pounding the ball. What's going to happen? They're going to get tired. You can always see them like doing this. They can't breathe.
Yeah.
Especially if they're playing.
Yeah, with the altitude. Yeah. Whenever – and their body's going to be sore. They're going to be like, oh, God, dang, I just tried to tackle that kid. It hurts. Like,
exactly.
We can't stop him. We don't have the energy or the strength to stop this kid. So that's going to be a real big thing for the Broncos. And if this defense, like I said, like they're taking more of I think they're going to be playing a lot more man coverage this year, and they're going to be a lot more aggressive. I think even today, like, I don't know if you noticed it, Mohamed, but Vince Joseph was blitzing a lot. He was blitzing DBs, linebackers. He was blitzing almost anybody that he could.
I love blitzing, so I had no problem with that. You can't just do it every play, right?
Yeah, you can't do it every play. Sometimes you're going to have to just rush forward and hopefully they get home. You can't blitz every play because the defense or the offense is going to catch on to that, and then you're done. But I have no problem with that. I have no problem with Vance Joseph being, aggressive. But like you said, just don't become a detriment. Like, if you're blitzing a team a lot and they're beating you, they're constantly throwing underneath, and they got guys open, then just get out of it. Go away from it and play some zone, maybe play some cover 2 man or cover 1 where you're not blitzing somebody, you know. But yeah, I'm super excited for the season, man. Like I said, Bo Nix to me, like he should be named the starter right now. Like I understand people wanting to give him the second preseason game, but at the same time, I don't understand it. What more do you need to see from Bo Nix to prove that he is the starter? Jarrett Stidham is he's a safe. I almost called him a check down artist because that's basically what he is to me. But he's a Teddy Bridgewater type. He's going to make maybe some throws down the field, but most of the time he's going to check it down, throw it in the flat, or do drag routes over, short, like 2-3 yards down the field. And, which is good to have. Like, that's for a defensive head coach, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Sean Payton, we know, is an offensive guy. He wants to be aggressive. He wants to push the ball. He wants, like, maybe not deep, but he wants to be able to move the chains. And, he designs plays to get guys screaming across the middle like 10, 15 yards downfield. He doesn't want to constantly check down. Oh, let's hit this little drag right here and do that. Like, yeah, if you need to do that during a game, it's fine. But it's like Bo Nix can do that. But Bo Nix can also do more than Jarrett Stidham. So why not start the young guy? That's what drives me nuts, and why some people are like, oh, you still need to have the competition. It's not. I'm like, you don't need it.
It's over. And we're only hurting Bo Nix too, Eddie. Like, if you're not naming him now, you're hurting him because he's not playing with the starters. That's what he needs to do. I keep saying,
and you're not just hurting him, you're hurting all the starters.
Exactly.
Like, honestly, I mean, this was with Jarrett Stidham in there today, but that false start from Mike McGlinchey, the false start from Cortland Sutton, the holding penalty on Bowles, like those were when Jarrett Stidham was in there. And I'm not trying to make a case for Jarrett Stidham to be the starter because I don't want him to be, of course. But it's like, why do you think that happened? Because of the timing, the chemistry. Like, they're not used to Jarrett Stidham, just like they're not used to Bo Nix. Like, and I think it's a little bit of rust too. First game of the season, they're coming back, whatever. But it's like the drops. Like, you see the drops. Like, that is a timing, chemistry issue. You get that settled, then Bo Nix is clearly the better quarterback. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's clearly better than Stidham. And you give him that chemistry and timing with those receivers and that offensive line, he's going to ball. So, before we get out of here, though, Mohamed, overall, what was your thoughts on the game today? Like, just your overall with, the scoring, the defense, and what are you looking forward to seeing next week from the entire team, against the Packers?
I mean, honestly, Eddie, like what I wanted to see was Bo Nix. I honestly wanted to see how, like, what is everybody talking about, and he checked all the boxes for me. Like, everything I heard about him being athletic, as far as extended plays, arm strength, I was very impressed with that. The whole team actually played decent, I would say. Maybe some stuff that needs to be cleaned up and stuff. But overall, I think they did decent. Next week, I want to see Bo Nix continues what we saw from him this week, and I think as he start playing more, he's going to improve. And that's what I was, like I said in the beginning of before the training camp, I said that all I want to see is Bo Nix improves every week. I'm not talking about winning, just as far as like him improving, getting used to everything, getting that timing correctly with the wide receivers. So I just hope that we see that next week.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to see Bo Nix continue to get better. I want to see Jonah Ellis, Abrams Dream, Riley Moss. I want to see all the young guys continue to grow and get better. And honestly, next week, what I want to see, Bo Nix, I want to see at least 2 touchdowns. That's if he plays long enough. I don't know how many series they're going to allow him to play with the ones next week. I would imagine maybe a couple, maybe 2, 3 at most. I want to see some more sacks from the defense, and I want to continue seeing the defensive line just completely obliterate the run. Like and I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, the Packers have Josh Jacobs now.
Did they?
I'm pretty sure he left the Raiders and went to the Packers.
I know, yeah.
Grant, if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Josh Jacobs is with the Packers. I want to see our starting defensive line just shut him down.
That's something to look forward to.
Yeah, that's what I want to see them shut him down and really start taking that big step forward in the run game. I want to see Bo Nix throw at least 2 touchdowns if he's out there long enough. And I want to see more growth from Zach Wilson and Luke Wattenberg at the center position. Receivers, I'm not really concerned with because I think we know who the starting 6 are going to be. Hopefully next week Surtain gets some playing time because Surtain didn't really play today. I didn't see him out there. I don't think he even dressed. But anyway, that's it for us tonight, guys. I hope you guys really enjoyed the show. Please in the comments, let us know what you guys thought about the game and everything and Bo Nix. And next week we got the Packers, and we'll be back next week at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, like every Sunday. Any final thoughts, Mohamed?
I just wanted to tell everybody, please go ahead and subscribe if you're not subscribed, and like the video.
Yes. Please like and subscribe to the video, and we will talk to you guys next week. Peace.